Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Doug,
And I'm Lorenzo.
and this is Good Suffering, back with a brand new theme song. It feels like a fresh coat of paint for the show. And on this show, we usually review a horror movie that I've seen before.
And I haven't.
But before we do that, we are going to do a little bit of horror news.
Horror news.
That was our human soundbite, Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Okay, first off, we've got some set photos and a few details for the new Tales from the Hood 2, made, I'm pretty sure, more than 20 years after the original release, probably closer to 25. And Tales from the Hood, which I think was like, it was kind of a horror with a bit of comedy to it, anthology that was like super way ahead of its time, really influential to even films like Get Out. Jordan Peele did some interviews where he cited that movie. It's a great film that's like these like just like horror that just tackles issues within like the Black community, and the film itself still feels as like important as ever. So it's really cool that we're gonna get a sequel from the original director and all of the everybody involved with the first film.
Cool.
Yeah. We got some news from the It Chapter 2. Not only do we have the first full cast photo, but the kids are back to do some reshoots, and they're hanging out alongside of the adults, and at least on set. And I'm not sure if like there might be something in there where they're both in there, maybe some kind of dream sequence or something. I don't know, but they're all together on set.
That's good.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's cool to see.
Yeah. And Chastain is definitely in there, right?
Yeah,
Oh, God bless.
Chastain. Yeah, I'm excited to see. I called that though because it's like, oh, the director worked with her on Mama. Like,
Right.
yeah, well, let me get my local redhead to do it. You know what I mean? At Halloween Horror Nights this year at Universal Studios, there will be 2 scare zones, and scare zones are like basically these little open air haunted house areas that lead you from place to place from the different houses and the different sections of the park. There is going to be one based on Chucky and Child's Play.
Oh.
And the one I'm really excited about based on Killer Clowns from Outer Space,
Ooh.
which is just like probably my favorite effects movie of all time.
That's your favorite one.
Like as far as the effects go, yeah, it's awesome. It's so awesome. And it's so fun. It's just like, it's very lighthearted horror. Like, imagine people being put in cocoons made of cotton candy.
I don't fuck with Chucky.
And
though,
you get
man.
that.
That sounds scary.
It's not going to be scary. It's going to be like grown men dressed as Chucky, or like shorter people. Like, they're not going to do action. They can't make like dolls run around. So I'm not as excited for that as I am for like big, weird, ugly clowns.
So you have to go through them in order to get to place by place? Or
Basically,
can you...
yeah. You like gotta kind of get through there. There's no real way to avoid them.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really
I
neat.
like that. Yeah, so I've gone through something like that then. And it does kind of envelop you in the experience. There's no way out.
Yeah. Wellington Paranormal. We have a trailer for that, which is the What We Do in the Shadows universe TV show about the cops from the movie and like them investigating the paranormal around New Zealand, or Wellington, I guess specifically. And it looks just as funny as the movie. I'm excited to see it. I think it's airing over in like New Zealand and like that area before it gets here. But I'm excited when it gets here and I can see it.
I still haven't seen the trailer.
It's super short, but it's super fun, and it's just like that same kind of like humor that you got in
I'm
What We Do in
excited.
the Shadows.
Maybe at this point I shouldn't watch the trailer. Just wait for the show.
Yeah, screw it. You already like What We Do in the Shadows,
Oh,
so
yeah.
there you go. For this next, or I think for the 40th anniversary of Alien, they are doing a contest where people can enter scripts for short films set within the Alien universe, and they're going to pick some to get, I guess, produced and made into short films.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're just like submitting. They're just like accepting submissions for like these little They said 2 to 3 minute shorts.
Didn't they do something like that for Prometheus?
They might have.
Well, I think maybe not so much letting other people do them, but I think they made a couple shorts to kind of go into like the whole...
they did. They did that for Covenant.
They did that for Covenant? Well,
Yeah,
they did
yeah,
it for
yeah.
Prometheus too.
Yeah.
Because I remember like...
Well, that was Ridley Scott who did those, though.
Right, yeah.
This is
sounds
going to be.
cool.
This can be anything set within anywhere in the Alien universe.
Just script? That's all they need?
Yeah, they want scripts.
Hmm.
It just kind of sounds like mining for content, but you're really excited to submit one. It looks like.
I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
maybe. Yeah, we'll see.
Why not? Yeah. I'm in a submission kind of mood.
Yeah,
As in submitting works. I want to submit some poetry, and I definitely want to submit some screenplays. So let's do that.
They did something similar for I think Annabelle Creation, the second Annabelle movie, and then like somebody found something in the fine print that said, "Oh, if we like this, we're gonna make it and just give you like $100 for the idea," and like that totally went to shit, and like everybody was upset about that. So I don't know if it's the same deal with this. It's not Warner Brothers, I don't think,
Screw it.
but hey, either way, right?
Yeah, as long as like you can kind of like
We can
seal
get
that,
maybe
like,
get
you
a
did
credit
it.
maybe in the movie if they make it.
That'd be cool.
Who are we to say that we're gonna win? But
Oh, I'm to say.
okay, all right. I like your get up and go.
You heard it here first.
They are making a new Boogeyman movie, which is based on the Stephen King short story from Night Shift, which is my favorite Stephen King short story. And I just want to throw that out there. I'm like super duper excited that
Right.
they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's done well because they have made one before, I think in the early 2000s, and it was really, really bad, and like nobody likes it. It's just one of those throwaway horror movies. But the short story itself is like so great and so creepy. It's one of those stories that keeps me up at night. And it's like a totally really interesting take on the boogeyman as just being somebody who just comes and like fucks with your life and takes your kid, kills your kid, then kills your wife, and then kills you. And I'm really eager to see that play out in a movie because it's like total like the story is just tone.
It's kind of on brand with our episode today.
Yeah,
Until like the
till the end.
one part you said. Yeah.
Right. There's going to be a Scream fan event to take place in the town that they shot the original movie in, with a whole tour of like the house and like all the different locations, the school and stuff. That's on Kickstarter right now. They're hoping to do it in October for the anniversary of the film. It's going to be obviously in California.
Scary stuff though, man.
Kickstarter?
Yeah, it's really scary. No, what if you get a copycat? You know, like that's the whole point of the movie.
Yeah.
Eventually.
True.
Yeah.
That would be a
That'd be
wild
something.
Yeah, like I once heard an idea for a Saw film that was like, oh, what if they like, because there's Saw conventions now, and it was like, oh, they should make a Saw movie set where it's in this world and there's a Saw convention and then there's a copycat killer.
Yeah, I was legitimately afraid of that happening when Saw was just kind of periodically coming out. That was like one of my
When it owned October every year.
Yeah, that was one of my big. Oh my god, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it just and then Paranormal Activity kind of like took that, and then they were going back and forth. Like
I'd rather the ghost do it.
Yeah,
Just like haunt 100%. Everyone. Screw it.
But yeah, that's going to be a fun thing. Kickstarter, I'm a little worried about because I was part of the Evil Dead 2 board game Kickstarter, and like I threw like 200 and change at it, and like nobody's getting their shit ever. Like nobody is.
Oh,
you see the 2 dice I have? That's all I get to show for it. Yeah, because the company went under, and it was a whole big thing. Yeah, so like I'm a little wary of Kickstarter now, but maybe I hope this gets funded and gets done. I would rather these Kickstarters. I would rather these cool ideas that have to be crowdsourced. Like
actually happen.
Yeah.
What
yeah.
did you? Or you think you're gonna pledge anything? You think you're gonna give some money to these guys?
For that? I can't make it out to California in October, but I hope they do.
When is that supposed to happen? Do you know? Did they say?
Like late October.
Oh. Okay.
No. And our final piece of news here is there will be a Nightbreed TV series. The Nightbreed universe is getting picked up again after the, I guess, bit of a failure the movie was in the 90s. It's a great movie, though. Clive Barker. If you like Hellraiser, you'll like Nightbreed.
Yeah. Okay.
On the Sci-Fi Network, which honestly I think is getting a bit better. They do Channel Zero, which is my favorite show on TV. They did, oh my God, what was the name of the show? Blood Race or something like that. It was really cool. They did a season and it got canceled, but that was fun. I think Sci-Fi's trying to they have that show Happy with Christopher Maloney.
Yeah.
I think they're really trying to beef up a bit of their, their
cred.
shows, and their cred, to be the premier place for like genre stuff on cable.
Which is
And
smart.
so-
Smart move.
Yeah, so I really hope that this Nightbreed show does well, because it is definitely a weird world, and if we get a little bit more Dr. Decker, I'm fine with that, or some like new incarnation of that, because that's like one of my favorite masks, favorite costumes in a horror movie, and played by David Cronenberg. So
Not the show.
no, in the movie he's
movie.
like the villain.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I guess I'm spoiling a bit of the movie, but whatever.
Oh, jeez. Did you?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Listen, if it's been 20, almost 30 years since that movie came out, like,
So what? If you haven't seen it now, screw you.
yeah,
So the whole premise of this show,
screw you, Lorenzo.
screw me, is what I'm hearing.
So today we're talking about the 2016 film The Witch, which was directed by first-time feature-length director Robert Eggers. It is a painstakingly period-accurate, self-described New England folk tale.
Yeah.
I guess before we get into what we think of this, I guess hit that IMDb.
Time for a non-sponsored IMDb synopsis.
Yeah.
But IMDb, just letting you know, if you want to sponsor us, feel free to do that. All right. So, a family in 1630s New England is torn apart by the forces of witchcraft, black magic, and possession. You know,
I have a hard time with the possession.
yeah.
I have a hard time with that.
Yeah. Witchcraft, black magic, yes.
Yeah. Occultism, whatnot.
Right. Torn apart by that alone. I don't know about that either.
Yeah.
It's got layers to it. It's got layers.
Of course. You see why I called it a remake of The Shining now, right?
That's one thing that came to mind.
Yeah.
I see how it's a remake of that. I see how something else is almost a remake of this.
Oh, wait, what is
We'll
that?
get into that.
Oh, okay.
We'll get into that.
Okay. Well, I've got some technical notes just to start off about this film. Just some interesting things to throw out there.
Yeah.
This was actually shot in Ontario, Canada, for tax reasons. You know, that's why every movie is like shot in Canada, or like every TV show shot in Georgia. You know, with some pickup shots done in Massachusetts. Like I said, painstakingly accurate. You know, all the buildings were built by hand. They weren't carved with like circular saws or anything like that. Everything was done period correct, down to little tiny details, as in like the candles that they used. And I was listening to the audio commentary for this, and Robert Eggers was upset because it was the wrong kind of dog breed for the time.
Oh no.
Yeah, and the goat breed is wrong too, but the horse is right, and he was so happy that he got the right horse. And he's like, "Oh, they're horses that were brought over by the English," and he like really went into this. He had that was his goal going into this. He had a throwaway line in the commentary track saying he wished he CG'd out Anya Taylor-Joy's earring holes, and like he sees things like that, and he's just like, they pull me out of like the reality of it. And a lot of the scarier moments in the film are actually taken from Robert Eggers' childhood dreams. Like little things about witches. He said witches haunted his dreams, and also he said he never set out to actually make a feminist film and didn't realize that there was a feminist tone to it until after the script was already done.
Because I can't wait to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess let's start off with what you think of it, man.
So, this one's another one that it'd be tough to just, I mean, maybe not for you. Definitely not for you. But this one's tough for me to designate whether it's just purely good, bad. And that's not the whole point of the show anyway. We're not just reviewing, nearly just saying like, oh, 2 thumbs up, go watch it, you know?
Right.
So it's a very nuanced film. One thing is that I wish I had seen it much sooner, since we announced that since we announced that we were gonna do this show before this taping right now, because it did take me a long time, or this whole time since I last watched it, to just let it soak in. There's just so much going on. It's painstakingly slow in a way, but not boring. It's a really, really slow burn, but it's effective.
Every time I watch it, it seems shorter. I'm always shocked that it's only 90 minutes. I remember sitting in the theater for the first time. Well, the first time I saw this, there was a crying baby in the theater. Somebody took their baby to see this on opening night.
Great, yeah.
And that kind of took me out of it. And I saw it in theaters twice, and I've watched it I think before this once or twice on Blu-ray since getting it.
It doesn't feel long. It just feels it's well plotted out.
It takes its time with each character.
Exactly. I think that's the best way to put it. Now my feelings towards it lie towards okay, I saw Hereditary first.
Okay.
Right. And this, you kind of compared it to this. This is by the same company, A24.
Yeah. It's in that same realm of modern art house horror.
Right. Families.
Elevated horror is another term.
Right. Dealing with the occult, dealing with children in that realm.
Right.
I felt like I was watching the whole time I was just comparing it to Hereditary.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, it is. It is because I feel like I couldn't enjoy it for what it was. or what it is.
I think they're vastly different once you get to the base of them both, though.
Yeah. At its core,
Yeah.
totally two different movies.
Yeah,
I think like as I just said before, this tongue in cheek remake of The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that same way about the Hereditary being a tongue in cheek remake of this. And it's not that long ago that this came out.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So now you're fucked up about Hereditary and The Witch.
right. Yeah. I mean, all in all, I really think that this is a great movie to sit and watch, to enjoy as a film. Just overall, it's great filmmaking. All the details, like really, it's tactile. I felt like I could smell this movie.
I have that written down in my damn notes.
Yeah.
Like, look at incredibly primal film. You can almost smell it.
Yeah.
And that was a point. Like you want to smell the characters and the shit, and like there was a big idea within this film to make it smell, because at the time it would have you would be overwhelming.
It's just stench.
Yeah, because they didn't get rid of their waste and like animal waste. They would use that to manure, and they would even use their pee.
And this family specifically, they
Yeah,
had
especially
been living
being
a
out in
pretty pampered life
To
before.
an extent,
right?
yeah, right.
To what they could get at that time. So now they even feel that like that comes up. When they think about like trying to go back and like basically like repenting for all that. So even them, I think that's a good element of just storytelling. It was like, you really feel the dirtiness that they probably feel. Like they mentioned even the windows, like it had glass.
Yeah.
That's an important part of those luxuries of life. So yeah, I think this is just a very, I don't know, it's a tangible kind of movie, and I like that a lot about it. I just think that this is you could almost do like a whole course on this, or at least like dedicate a couple of weeks to this movie. So I feel like I can't do it justice in my typical. So what did you think?
Right.
Byline. That's why this is so long. I got to stop talking now. Let you talk.
Well, I guess I have a little bit of a simpler take on it. I think that this is the best horror film to come out within my lifetime, which is a short lifetime, is 23 years. It's less than a quarter of a century. But, I think of the really big horror films, both like culturally and artistically, and although The Witch doesn't really have much of a cultural impact as, say, something like Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity has, Conjuring, Insidious, things like that, Saw. I just genuinely think this is the best crafted horror film, like, to come out within the past 23 years.
And that's with you having seen Hereditary.
Yeah. I last night I really had to sit down and think about like which of these is the better film. You know what I mean? Like, can I go into The Witch confidently saying that? Like, Hereditary really gave it a run for its money, but no, this certainly, like, upon my rewatches of this and like really sitting down to consider this, like, I just think that this has a lot more of the it maintains the true punk spirit of horror, which is that at the end of the day, it's the whole thing that I said, I believe, last episode about punching up. And I think it maintains that a little better than Hereditary does, because it's such a small, contained, like, intimate idea, Hereditary. While also, like, really bringing this, like, great art house, like, feeling to it as well.
Yeah.
So, no, yeah, I can confidently say The Witch is my choice.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's no, Exorcist or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not.
But at least
I don't think
what's
it will
come
ever be a
out.
tent pole. But yeah, like,
You don't think it would be?
No,
Or
I
will
don't
it
think
be?
it'll be a tent pole. No, I think we could see Hereditary even more, because that had so many more people flocking to the theaters.
Right.
And-
That had the cultural impact.
That had a pretty
sure.
pretty solid. It got like even like a little Twitter icon with the hashtag.
Right.
If you hashtag Hereditary, you get a little picture of Toni Collette next to it. And the thing that both of these films share is that they were both marketed as very consumer easy horror films. They both had like big ad campaigns to get people out, and then had a lot of backlash from people over like, this wasn't the movie I expected.
Right.
They were expecting jump scares or something. And I remember that for The Witch too. People going, this wasn't scary. This is not a horror film. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? Same way that people act with Hereditary.
Yeah.
And that's A24. That's just their model. They don't really care what people think, because the right people like it.
Yeah.
And so if they can get asses in the seats and a little bit more money, they just do it. And
Like,
I just think that's their idea behind that.
Yeah. Even as I mentioned, like, this was a movie that I was going to see not too long ago. The setting was that I was with other people. It was gonna be like a late night kind of movie.
Right.
popcorn, drinks, things like that.
Definitely not the kind of movie you would want to
I
do that
suggested
to.
it. I was like, hey, yeah, I heard this is really good. I'm so glad I didn't watch it because there's nothing more uncomfortable than being the guy that recommends something and you just feel like everyone else is not digging it. I was watching this the whole time and I'm like, thank God it's just me enjoying
just you.
Yeah, because no one like that group of people probably wouldn't have dug it at all. But yeah, no, this is. I can't imagine anyone, like falling for that. Like I feel like just like you watching this now, it's like how the hell could you ever think that this is something that's going to be like a
just
popcorn flick?
Cut a killer trailer.
Well, yeah, I guess. Jeez, yeah. Really,
and using samples from that score, that fantastic damn score that is as
Really
unique as the
good.
Shining score. That's a big thing. I see a relationship together too. Is like they both just had this weird instrumentation to them. It wasn't like synthy like other horror movies, and it wasn't like orchestral like something like Candyman or Rosemary's Baby. It was it's its own just soundscape. I'm pretty sure a lot of the instruments used in this were either like kind of weird new invented instruments or like really old like instruments from that time period that aren't really just kind of dead now.
Yeah, when you put it that way, in the light of The Shining's, pretty much a landmark score.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Even though I think there's like little to no like original music in The Shining, it's all like pulling pieces from like these like kind of obscure, classic
Like kind of
classical
sampling,
music trends.
kind of-
Yes.
Yeah.
But still, you know what I mean.
Who's that lady that did that?
I
Something with
forget
an
their
L.
names.
I always forget
yeah.
her. She's awesome.
Yeah. There was a few people who worked on that soundtrack too.
Well, she the one I'm thinking of like did like the whole Moog thing.
I forget her name.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I don't know where to start with this. I don't know what's the first thing you want to tackle. Because I've got so much here, and then like everything that's not here is in my head.
Wendy Carlos, by the way, not with an L. That's
Wendy Carlos Williams.
Right. What do I want to start? I don't know where I want to start. I don't know what makes the most logical sense to start. I just know that you brought up the whole feminist movie part, and that's just one key thing that I loved. I kind of hinted at this before last time we spoke, that there was something that you mentioned about this genre movie. And when I say that, I mean witch movies and how empowering it is. And I mean, that's not hard to see. You can definitely see that with like, I mean, The Craft is like the first thing I think of immediately. But this one, like, I think like impacted me in a way that like not anything else had done before. Just that last shot of what is it named? Thomason?
Thomason in the movie.
The character Thomason is just like floating up.
Yeah.
And she's got like the blood and everything.
Her arms out,
and she's like laughing.
Far back shot. Yeah. Oh my god.
That's an amazing shot. So evocative. And I was like, wow, this is a feminist iconic movie, I think.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So that's one place if you want to kind of get to talk about that a little bit.
Sure. I guess I'll just tackle the character of Thomason then. Like we'll just go. I've got these little character profiles I made up in my notes here just because like I feel like again so much attention is paid to each character that it's hard to you can't talk about it unless you specifically are tackling each character. You know what I mean? And like their contribution to it ultimately happens and how much of that is the witchcraft, how much of that is just their personalities and the time and society at that point.
Including the baby.
Including Samuel the baby.
Samuel,
yeah, Samuel the baby. Yeah, and the two.
Samuel's not safe either.
I group up the two twins
Right,
because
that's
they play like a kind of an equal role together. But Thomason, she's based on Elizabeth Knapp, who was a supposedly possessed girl from Groton, Massachusetts, about 20 years before the Salem witch trials. So about, like 70 years after this. No, wait, what am I saying? Like 40 years after this.
Yeah, I'm going to take your word for it. I'm just distracted by your cat a little bit.
But yeah, about 40 years after the events of The Witch.
Right.
And she was basically like every other normal, sort of like young girl around that time period. Like she, like very much like Thomason, she was sent off to work for a family. She was very subservient. She was very. She had like a very marginalized place within her community, and one of the big theories as to why she was quote unquote possessed, which is like an incredibly well documented thing. It was done by a priest who actually took like a very scientific approach to it over a series of months.
Wow. Okay.
Is that she was just unhappy with her place in society. She was unhappy with the fact that she was just kind of this nameless person. And through getting possessed and through like the entire town knows about that, now she has, achieved some sort of celebrity. She's achieved some sort of notoriety.
Wow.
And I really like, once I read up on Elizabeth Knapp and I did some research, I really lent to my reading of Thomason.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And Thomason is bursting with this like post-pubescent sexuality. Like she's a young woman. I don't know her age in the film, but I know that Anya Taylor-Joy is about a year younger than myself.
Yeah.
So figure in 2016 she would have been 20.
Which is weird because she seems a lot younger. She seemed like 16 in the movie.
Yeah, I would
now
assuming
the movies that she's doing, she looks her age more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Split.
So maybe it's just good casting, I guess. Yeah, Split too. Yeah.
She is, I feel her family is very fearful of her sexuality. You see that in the end with the mother calling her a slut and saying, "Oh, the way you look at Caleb, the way you look at your father," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When no, Caleb's the one looking
Caleb
at her.
That was so interesting. I didn't realize that they were siblings because of that shot. It wasn't until after.
They're in a very, I guess, sexually repressive society.
Puritans.
I think they're Calvinists specifically. I think that's the clash. That's why they leave, is because they're in a Puritan society and they're Calvinists, and like basically the family is too religious for the
that
community.
Part I figured.
I will not be judged by false Christians.
Right, right.
Like this is great. That whole opening little monologue is fucking amazing.
I was so worried he was gonna die early on because I wanted to hear him
more, and you get him through the whole thing,
essentially.
And then when he dies, they pick up the Black Phillip voice, and that is great too. It's just like, oh, how could I, at this point, I'm getting the best of everything. Anyway, I think ultimately for Thomason at the end, I guess this is really where the feminist aspect of the film comes in, is that, the societal norms that she's faced, her father and that kind of like patriarchal system and religion, like oppressive Christianity, have really all betrayed her. You know what I mean? Like she had no hope for a future. They were going to send her off to just be a servant, and God never showed His might. Her dad's crops failed.
Yeah.
Like there was just all this just like turbulence in her family. But who showed might was Satan. And when Satan pops up, for reals, he says, "I'm going to give you butter. I'm going to give you, would thou like to live deliciously?" You know what I mean? All these things that she couldn't have.
Sound of that.
I know.
Oh my God, it was so good. Such good sound.
But is saying, just come with me. Take off your clothes. You could be free, and you just I'm going to give you everything you want.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you power. You know what I mean? I'm gonna teach you how to do these things. And he does. She flies. You know what I mean? Within seconds of her getting with the cover.
Naked ladies on a fire. That's one thing. There's so many similarities to Hereditary, man. What is it with like naked people in A24 movies, huh?
I think it's
floating.
just like I think it's a thing with specifically with like devil related stuff and just like
I don't know.
Also, I want to come back to that idea because when we talk about Caleb, I want to talk about the apple that comes from his mouth. Yes. I guess we'll do that now, because I believe that is a I guess like reflective of original sin.
Absolutely.
And I think that's it just like really lends itself to the feminine feminist idea of like, oh well, we're looked upon as the reason why everything sucks. You know what I mean? The Christian version of Pandora's box, has been opened, and that also relates to the nudity thing because you go with the devil, and you just shed all these like human created things.
Yeah, what's funny is that like as I was watching, because I still got that Catholic schoolboy syndrome in me.
It's been 8 episodes and we still can't get that rid of you.
It's not gone. However, I will say like as I felt like I went through it the way Thomason does in his movie, because as I was watching, I was really freaked out just by like the whole Satanist aspect of it. Just sitting in my room and stuff and dark, like that's it still lingers that fear of like sinning. I started thinking about like all the things that I've done since I've kind of like foregone like Christianity and all that. I'm like shit. If God's real and all this, I'm really fucked now at this point. It's over for me. But like as the movie progresses, I'm following Thomasin. She's kind of the central character here, more or less. So when she does get that like that freedom finally at the end, I almost felt it too. I was like, shit, fuck yeah, go with these witches. Go practice black magic. I'm like, I felt liberated at the end, just fuck all those that restrictive rules,
Right. It's like order and hierarchy. And
yeah,
things
screw
like
that, man. Screw the patriarchy too.
Her confession at the beginning, where she's, she said it's just like this whole list, and she's like, I've broken all your commandments, in thought.
Yeah.
And like you just really see that she just doesn't fit in from the very beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She just isn't. She doesn't like her place. She's bucking the rules where she can.
No, she's awesome. I love this character.
Oh yeah, and she plays it so well. I think she's such a great actress, and we have a lot more in store for her.
And she's so much more than like a scream queen, even though she's amazing at it.
Yeah, and she's billed as a scream queen even on like Wikipedia.
Yeah,
They say like, she's known for her scream queen roles.
Rightfully so, I think. It's
Fair.
just that like it's not like a restrictive role. Maybe it was before, but it's certainly not now.
Yeah.
Especially with her, because I think she's shown that she's versatile.
Speaking of scream queens, there's a great article out there about Toni Collette being considered a scream queen because of this and like Sixth Sense and a few of the other roles that she's done.
Okay.
And I really almost like this definition of this like new redefinition of a scream queen as something other than just like
some teenage girl.
Yeah, who just isn't in a bunch of horror movies because she's willing to like take her top off.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we really like are just respecting women in horror and like their role.
Yeah, that's exactly that's what I'm saying. Like it's not like a restrictive kind of thing anymore.
Right.
I'm sure what you just said is a lot more articulate now than what I said, but we should maybe link that in the notes because I definitely
if I can find it. Yeah. I came across it on Facebook. I should have saved the link.
Yeah, we'll find it.
But yeah,
so
take us where else do you want to talk? This is almost like how I felt about Hereditary, where I can't pick an angle to come at.
Well, let's do what we kind of talked about before, just you and me before the show, about designating, just going through each character, and attributing each kind of, I guess like sin or like downfall or whatever to each character.
Sure. Who do you want to go at next?
So we went over Thomasin. Let's go over the dad.
Okay, William.
Yeah.
He's a bit ineffective. This seems like the only thing he's really, really good at is chopping wood.
That's all you're good for.
He's really fucking good at chopping wood, but he can't hunt. He can't bring a crop to harvest.
Right.
He can't provide for his family, and he's so damn headstrong.
Very prideful.
He pulls them away
Yeah.
from the comfort of like at least a semi-formed society. You see them closing those gates at the beginning. You know what I mean? They are outsiders now.
And we see so little of that society, and
We
yet
just see that.
such
That's it.
an impact on the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Which I think is just really great.
And you see they're functioning, it seems pretty well, you know what I mean? Like you see they've even got Native Americans within there, so you assume there's some kind of trade or something going on. Like they are in something that's functioning.
Right.
And they just choose to leave that because it's just like...
Because he's got one of the 7 deadly sins.
His pride.
I guess, what's his name? Shit. Caleb,
the boy.
He's got lust.
Yeah.
Especially which is brought up with the hot witch, not the old lady witch.
No, that's the same witch.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The actor.
Right.
Like the younger one.
That's a Victoria's Secret model, too.
So I'm not wrong when I say hot then.
Yeah.
That's appropriate.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, so... so that's obviously his thing. I'm sure you could probably like break it down. I imagine. I don't think I know I watched an analysis. That's one thing I want to say. This was the first movie that we've done that I had to do research on afterwards to collect my thoughts to kind of come up with any kinds of opinions because not necessarily opinions but just more coherent opinions.
Fair.
But yeah, so I mean, he's definitely lust. That's definitely pride. I don't know.
I do really want to say though that Caleb is probably the most wholesome character through this whole thing. He does not really have bad intentions at any moment.
I don't know.
He's
man.
the only one. He's the only one.
If you're looking at it from like the Catholic churches or Christianity's kind of lens, which I am, I can't help it. with the context and all that.
Right.
Lust is just as bad. There's another a deadly sin.
That's fair, but like you look at like just like I guess like take it into modern morals, you know, because this is still a modern movie. You look at like the mother who is just so hateful of Thomason. You look at the father who steals the cup and you know will like let his children take the blame. You know, you look at the two little kids who are just like they're fucking evil. Like they're just But especially because I guess I'm jumping ahead of myself when I talk about them, but I just really don't believe they actually have a connection to Black Phillip. I just fully read the movie as they're just troublemakers.
Oh, just like
And
bad
that
kids.
Yeah, they're just like they do not understand the impact of their actions. That's why
they're doing.
I really felt that when when they're all praying around Caleb
And then like they're
and
laying on the ground.
and they're like, oh my god, I forgot my prayer, and that's such a thing from the Salem witch trials, as like that was the way that they pointed people. Oh, I was with them and I forgot my prayer. I forgot, and I just felt like that was really put there to just say like they don't actually have any kind of connection to any of this. They're just two young little dicks.
What bothered me most about them was like when they were just lying unconscious on the ground. That's like, all right, come on, like, get up. Thomason said the same thing. I wondered too.
They look so impish too. They really have those faces, and they have those two like twin like little. They're just like little troublemakers. I really just think it all lends itself to that.
I couldn't help but wonder. Literally up until, let's see, Caleb spit up the apple. I thought all of this was just kind of like real life Salem witch trials, which is just hysteria.
I again, just to go back to my notes, I literally said our understanding leads us to assume hysterics, but there is no question of the presence of real witches in this film.
Even though like in the woods he saw that witch, he saw like her hand was like revealed. She like basically like when she kisses him and then bites him or whatever. That even was like, what if this is just like an illusion? It's just hysterics. He's lost in the woods. He's scared. It took the apple thing to come out because everything, all the praying around them, it just seems so helpless. And like, that's, I'm not trying to critique religion here on this show, but like that's, a part of religion just comes from trying to find answers when there isn't an explanation.
We'll get our guest, Richard Dawkins, when he comes on, and he'll give us the critique that we need of religion.
Good. But yeah, the kids, I think were like the pinnacle of that. I'm like, are they really being possessed? Are they talking with Black Phillip? Or are they just snotty kids that are part of the hysterics?
I think it's important to consider with this film, especially when you consider how painstakingly accurate I say it is to the times, that back in those days, witchcraft was real to them. We can look back and go, oh, well, it's men who just hate powerful women, or oh, it's hysterics, or it's like a lack of understanding. But to them at that time, it was real.
Right.
So you have to go into this movie with that. Like in that headspace of like it is all real, no matter what you think, and like from the moment the baby is snatched, it's there. I think it's all very present,
and certainly not a wolf.
Certainly not a wolf. No. Definitely not.
That was a jarring thing, actually. Seeing like I guess what's basically Sam like being mashed up.
Yeah,
and just like covering the witch's body and its blood and guts and stuff.
All accurate stuff too. Like that was what believed to be a big witch ritual. It was like you take an unborn and unbaptized unbaptized kid, and you use its entrails and it will bring you youth, and it will also, if you put it on your stick, which is not a broomstick. That broomstick, like the whole broom idea, came a little bit later than this. But if you put it on your stick or your pole, it will give you the power of flight.
Oh, that sounds exactly like a broomstick. But it's not necessarily a broom, is what you're saying.
That's what they're saying. Yeah, the broom aspect of it came a bit later than where this movie sits in like the history of folklore.
No wonder like Christians really hated Harry Potter when it first came out.
Yeah, right.
Like they took so much from like legit, witchcraft.
Yeah,
they just turned it into like a kid-friendly book.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I guess. Another thing, now that we're on like the whole idea of Samuel being captured and killed, it was also a big thing back then to really not attach to kids until they were about the age of 4, because there was so much constant child death,
right?
And you wouldn't really get as emotionally attached to your baby as you would your already kind of developed kid.
Well, even then, if it's a boy, once it's 4, then you can be fully attached, probably, I would think.
Yeah.
But if it's a girl and she's at 4, you still don't want to get too attached, because you're that whole idea of like, oh, let's sell her to
give her
family
as a servant.
or whatever. Yeah. I mean, that's just they're just commodity.
Yeah. I don't even know. I don't know if they were sold like slaves. I don't think it was slavery. I think it was the idea of
No, but
you need a job. You need, you're going to do work, and we're going to give you to somebody to ease their stress. But you're also we're not responsible for you.
right.
And what they weren't looking for money for Thomason. I don't think is necessarily just one less
Like
mouth
trading.
to feed.
They wanted to trade.
Their trade, yeah,
Right.
maybe get some food and stuff out of it, and then one less mouth to feed.
It's not part of the family necessarily, but I do want to talk about Black Phillip more. I feel like
Okay.
you're definitely the go-to guy for that.
Yeah,
You love Black Phillip.
I love not just because I love goats and black goats, but because the idea, like, I love witchcraft as liberation, and so like this is just the movie for that. And
Yeah.
it's,
So am I wrong in that? Because like I really feel like this one is just like the cornerstone for me now. Like how witchcraft is liberating for women specifically. Like, I mean, are there any other movies that you would say are more so than this? Because just from what I've seen,
in modern times, no, definitely not. And just
I
like
dig
it just being such a developed idea.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like you can point to The Craft or something like that because that is generally a modern movie.
right.
But you look at this as like just really, really dives into it and more than just like a girls kick ass thing. It's really very
I thought this was a happy ending. I'm not gonna lie.
basically yeah.
I
yeah.
thought it was a victory for Thomason.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the fact that she even kills her own mother. Spoiler alert.
yeah,
That's just
that's
like,
an
that's
intense
freeing.
damn scene.
It was a tough murder right there. That was a tough scene. No flash to it whatsoever. Like she's just swiping at her. The camera's staying right atop of both of them.
I love
it
you.
just-
I love you. Whack.
Right.
Yeah.
No
it's-
Hollywood. It's just real.
Yeah.
That was really cool. But yeah, so Black Phillip. I want to understand him more.
Okay.
So I was hoping you could help me out with that.
Well, I'll kick it off with an interesting little tidbit that I picked up from the film. There's that point where they're the two little kids, Jonas or Jonah or Jonas, one of those two.
I think
And
it's Jonas because I remember. No, Jesus. I remember it's the same guy as the whale from the Bible.
Joan.
So it's Jonah then.
but
Jonah and the whale.
Jonah, yeah,
Yeah. Come on,
Jonah.
man. Went to Catholic school.
true.
I should remember
and,
something.
And Mercy.
Yeah.
They are singing that little song, Black Phillip, et cetera, et cetera. There's
Yeah.
this one little line that's great. It's Black Phillip, to Nanny Queen is wed. And I just totally think that's like foreboding for like Thomason, her eventual go. Because
How
Nanny
she's
Queen,
wedding.
because
Yeah.
you when you look at like what is she basically a nanny? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's doing work around the house. She's the one, you have to bring the kids inside.
Yeah.
And I think that little line is just like a little bit of insight into what eventually happens in the film.
Foreshadowing. I like that.
Yeah, I actually just picked up on that my very last watch.
Like the one for the show.
Yeah, because it was the first time I watched it with the subtitles on,
Mm.
and I just really ate up the dialogue.
Yeah, watching this without subtitles, I did that for like the first 10 minutes, and that was tough. Specifically because of William's voice. It's
Yeah,
just
with the
so deep. I could hardly understand him
Yeah,
for a lot of it.
like reading it and using the subtitles will lend you a lot more.
And the language. The language they even say at the end of the movie was taken
pulled
directly.
all pulled from texts.
Right,
and all.
so-
It's every inch of this movie is so painstaking.
Except for the earring holes.
Oh God, that really took
dog.
me out.
It's you know what? I saw that and I was like, fuck it. I can't watch this
Yeah.
anymore. But I continued for the show.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
so
what specifically about Black Phillip? The idea of him being a goat, the idea like
I mean the goat I get.
well, also the crow and the rabbit, like all those are like very closely occultly related animals.
that one shot.
the crow pecking her,
Yeah,
diddy.
that was bad because that reminded me of Hereditary too. Just of like seeing one thing and the other thing really happening. I don't know if that was necessarily something that happened in Hereditary, but just the editing of that, the way it cut, the way you saw the baby first, you see what she's seeing, and then it just went to like this, like just kind of eerily placed camera. That's kind of far enough that like you have to kind of determine what's happening.
It feels like a stage almost to me.
God, and
like
then
with the
you
black
see
rim around it, and then there's like the red behind
and the
it.
fireplace is like right behind her.
Yeah.
It's just all backlighting, and you don't get to see what's really happening. You just know.
You see the pecking and
Right.
the pulling, and
Oh,
she's
my
just
God.
laughing, and there's no music. It's
Great
just that
shot.
sound. Yeah.
Great shot. But yeah, no. So like the goats, I get it. That's a symbol that's kind of well known.
Mm-hmm.
I almost felt like they were stupid for not picking up on that like sooner. Like, come on.
Right.
Yeah, no, I don't like. What is it about him that I'm curious about? He's not much of a character until like let's say the second half or like even near the end.
Right.
What kind of part does he play in everything? Like, is he kind of like the puppet master the whole time?
I think to an extent, yeah. I think like obviously like the witch in the woods or is definitely conspiring with him to a certain extent, and obviously he's a shapeshifter, and he's just kind of doing something at night, or he's just willing it to be a certain way. And that's the thing that's so ambiguous about this movie is you don't know what's the level of what is, like how much does the, I guess, occult play into it, and how much is just the family unraveling.
Yeah. No, because Black Phillip, just to put it bluntly, Black Phillip is Satan.
Yeah, Black Phillip is
absolutely
the devil.
Satan. So it's not just like it's a possessed goat. Like this is just
he shapeshifts into a
right.
And who's apparently very handsome. Everybody who's interviewed,
Satan?
they're asked, the person who plays him, like you don't see his face, but they said on set he is just like the most gorgeous man you'll ever see in your life.
Oh, you mean the actor?
Yeah, and also that suit that he's wearing that you barely see. That's the most expensive costume in the whole thing.
That is horrifying. That is legitimately horrifying because supposedly Lucifer is like one of the most beautiful like angels and all that. So hearing that this faceless actor is really beautiful, I think they just cast Lucifer.
I think that's his real voice and stuff too. I think he's like
Good,
just the full
good.
package.
Good. And where is he now? He's nowhere. He just did this movie.
Yeah,
They like
it's like
summoned
it's
Lucifer.
like Shadow of a Vampire. You know that movie?
Mm-mm.
It's like a fictional retelling of the filming of Nosferatu. With the whole point is that the director F.W. Murnau, he actually hired a real vampire to play the Count Orlok character. And yeah, it's like a fake telling of the filming of Nosferatu where he's actually a vampire. And so I just want to believe that like Satan showed up like, this is a cool movie. Yeah, let me be in it.
You
and
know
he just
what?
auditioned. He's somewhere in LA.
I'm all for it. I don't ever want to see that guy's face.
Yeah.
Wow.
He played a better devil than most of the devils I've seen in other movies, including like even Jack Nicholson in like Witches of Eastwick. Like he just like in that little space of time that he had, he just really just it was a 10
Is
the
it
whole
bad
time.
that my first thought now was like, okay, I want to make a better devil character?
Hey,
I got some competitive spirit in me now.
yeah.
Shit. No, this is this is a hell of a movie. I feel like we talked about a lot of things here. Specifically just about like, how Black Phillip is like the puppet master, I guess you're telling me.
I think to a certain extent, yeah.
I
He
just-
could have been talking to the kids. He could be putting the ideas in the kids' heads. You just like there's just no telling, and that's what's really scary about the movie is like you just don't like how much is human, how much isn't.
Right, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is like we're covering all these different aspects, and you really just can't decide or determine what's really at play here. Granted, at the end, it's pretty straightforward that the witchcraft is real, it's happening.
Right.
But just like you said, how much of it is the witchcraft? How much of it is just this truly dysfunctional family?
More reasons why I compare it to The Shining, because it's like how much is real, how much is just in Jack's head and Danny's head, and and then towards the end it becomes very real. Wendy starts to see it, and it's like I remember one of the first like behind the scenes things I read about this film before it even came out. Rue Morgue did like a whole like their big cover article was on the witch. And I remember, like, one of the things Robert Eggers said in his interview was, like, the only movie I was watching through this whole thing was, like, The Shining.
Oh, okay.
And I just, like, that alone made me, like, oh, yeah, well, I got to go see this movie now. And like, I totally see, like, the similarities.
And to go back to Eggers, so this was his directorial debut for a feature length.
Yeah, he's got a new one coming out, I think, either later this year or early next year called The Lighthouse, I think.
Right.
I don't know who's in that, but I know it's less horror-y.
So, according to IMDb, our non-sponsor, The Lighthouse has, I don't know how confirmed it is, but it has Robert Pattinson
And Willem Dafoe.
and Willem Dafoe.
I've heard about Willem Dafoe.
And I love me some Robert Pattinson.
Oh,
I love
yeah.
both of them.
Yeah, of course.
But, I mean, our Pats is in
I'm
my faves.
I'm interested to see maybe if somebody even from The Witch comes back for this. Any of them. They were all just like A+
Anyone,
acting
yeah.
in all of it.
Mm.
Like, I'm eager to see what he has next because I want to see if it can live up.
Yeah, he
that
hasn't-
sophomore slump is scary, but like,
He hasn't done anything since, so
yeah, he just.
that's a huge gap.
Oh yeah.
just coming off of something that's so revered, at least.
Yeah.
Although I will say, to go back to IMDb, God, you guys are getting a lot of airtime. Should do something. You guys should own up on that. So just to go back to comparing Hereditary with The Witch, Hereditary, or at least The Witch, we mentioned here how it was kind of advertised as one thing, and a lot of people just didn't like it because it wasn't that.
Mm-hmm.
On IMDb, the people say it's a 6.8. On Hereditary, it is 7.6. So I think
I get why it's a little bit higher.
it's less of it's not a period piece.
It's not a period. Yeah, it's not a period piece.
Yeah.
It's in modern language. There's a little bit more of a jump scare aspect to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see why audiences would at least digest Hereditary a little bit more than they did The Witch, which is like just full art house. Like
Yeah, I know-
Hereditary can play in a big theater
Sure.
and get at least mixed reviews, but like The Witch, like even on I was there opening night and it still like wasn't like a super packed house.
The Witch you're saying?
Yeah.
I had no angle on that. I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, fair. We haven't really discussed the mom super in depth and
Right,
like
so
her
what's-
arc that she takes
Yeah.
because she's got that kind of hard face to her, that like hard woman faced. But like she even says like I'm sorry I've turned into like the wife of Job.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
I've hardened after the loss of our baby. She does take like an interesting arc where she's just sad and then angry and then like
Yeah.
wrathful and then just until like she totally loses it. And I see her as almost like a tool of the devil towards the end. You know what I mean? I feel like that's part of like Thomason's final like arc was the killing of her mom and getting into that space where it's that final, like it's you and me, we're the only ones left and it's your fucking fault.
Yeah.
And then Thomason has to defend herself because she knows she really didn't play much of a part in anything. You know what I mean?
Thomason herself didn't.
Yeah, didn't
No,
play.
she didn't.
Yeah.
The whole time she's just trying to defend herself.
Yeah,
That the two kids are lying. Obviously, she put herself in a bad spot, like threatening the little twins and
Right.
threatening.
But
mainly
how could she
Mercy.
have seen what was coming after that?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's what. You're right. The mom was crying. What's her name? Do you have that? Catherine.
Catherine.
She for a lot of the aftermath of losing Samuel, there is just like a peeking shot through like this cover of her just lying on the bed, just crying
and
her eyes
mumbling
out.
and praying.
Yeah. A lot of loss. It doesn't really dwell on it. We don't see her much during that period.
Right.
It's not until like that kind of turns into, I guess, what would be another deadly sin, maybe hers, would be wrath.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of anger, a lot of that like sorrow turns into that
Bitterness.
and it just affects her judgment. And seeing this younger woman, even though it's her daughter, maybe that's even worse. I guess that would be that it's her daughter.
Because you look at that family like a contained little community.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So as though they play as a family, like they're not getting any access to anybody outside of that group. So all of their experiences have to be contained to there, and that's why sexuality turns inward and incestual. That's why like everything is just like it's just too small to contain the amount of emotions that 5 different people from this like entire age range are feeling.
Right. So we have that I can think of 3 of the deadly sins. I wonder what the other ones would be. We have wrath for Catherine, Rathrin, Thomason.
We didn't do hers. What would be hers?
No, we didn't. We did Caleb's.
Caleb's is lust, and then Williams is pride.
Pride. Yeah, I wonder what the rest would be. Because I mean, for the baby, for Samuel, I don't know what sin it would be, but the main thing there is just that he wasn't baptized.
And that's like, and Caleb has so much anxiety about that too. Is like, is he going? And like, I think the mom even says like, our son is in hell, our baby is in hell, and it's just like this crippling, crushing belief that like this is the way things are. This little baby who didn't do anything and never said a word is going to hell because of something totally out of our control.
Out of its control.
Yeah, out of its control too. Yeah, like it's
The baby has no say.
Man.
And that's another thing, man. Christianity, like you're born with the sin. So that baby is literally not just like that it wasn't baptized, so it's not seen in the eyes of God. No, it's literally just a sinner despite it never doing a damn thing in his life.
Right.
Very unfortunate.
That's that like it's such a dead idea. that concept, but it was such a part of
Yeah.
life there. Is like that was a reality. If your baby, if you had a stillborn baby, if you had a baby that died because of malnourishment, like it's in hell. Guess what?
Sorry.
Surprise. And that like Calvinist belief of predestination also is like just really crushing. And you just see like Christianity is such a crushing thing in every corner of this film.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And they and they all stay so like closely linked to God through the whole thing. They're just praying and they just like still think that salvation is coming, and it does not.
Right.
Until Satan comes and
Until Satan
saves
gives
one
you
of
that
them.
way out.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, to be honest, is still true. Like, not in a historical lens, just like Catholicism still basically offers that. If you take a totally sober look, as I get to do now, and other like recovering Catholics get to do, it's like you realize just that the whole fall of Babylon, Adam and Eve, like literally just they get wisdom, or at least they get
Humanity, really.
yeah, when they get the apple, they get to have like judgment. What's the actual thing? I think it's wisdom, honestly.
In a word, I would call it agency.
Right. So the point is like they get to learn. They get to actually experience life on their own terms. And I was always confused. It's like, okay, so what's so wrong with that? Otherwise, we would just been servants our whole lives, and that's it. So is Satan so bad in the realm of this movie?
Nope.
Definitely not.
Not
that's
as
why I
bad
think this
as-
ending is so just like empowering. It's beautiful. And that shot, just her laughing, the flames, the light of it, just like coloring her up, the blood,
Those blues.
her
and
hair's
blacks
hanging
and
down like she's not like
whites.
stuck up with like all the having her hair done the way they need to do it.
She has
She's
that
just
scene where
rid
she just
herself.
literally just takes it off.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's great, and even like hearing like the actors talk about their clothing and they can't really move their arms like this way. They can really only move it this way, and it's just like the oppression is there in like everything. You know what I mean? In the weather, in the smell, in the clothing. It's all there, and then she gets to just shed it all
Through Satan.
through Satan. So if there's one thing to take out of this episode, is hail Satan,
Yeah. All hail.
King Payman.
Nope.
Ah.
Not doing it, buddy.
yet, not yet?
Nope. Still haven't recovered.
Boy. Go see Hereditary.
yeah. Did you listen to our Hereditary bonus episode?
Yeah,
'Cause if you haven't-
oh yeah, we should plug our own shit sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a Hereditary bonus episode that if you have not heard yet, please go back and listen to, because it's our first time reviewing a movie that we both kind of saw around the same time. And
Oh, and that's like released now.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you guys should definitely go and check that out, even though it's just a fluff piece.
The review itself is, or the analysis, whatever, is just us gushing. But definitely go support horror movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of like that we did such a modern movie again. You did Jennifer's Body was your last choice, and then you just doubled it up. And I have this tendency to pick older movies just because I want to pick all the stuff that I really love throughout my life.
which
And
is
we're gonna see
fair.
that again when I announce the next movie too.
Yes.
But we are like I thank you for holding me up to my belief that modern horror is really like worth more than a shit.
Yeah. Even a movie that's like really pop-ish, like Jennifer's Body.
we still were able to get at it at a whole different angles than we could have a movie that was made well before we were born.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do you have any last things to say, man? Do you have anything more?
No. Actually, I'm looking at you, so I want to hear your announcement for the next pick.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So, what you're going to do is the first on Good Suffering. We are doing our first Good Suffering double feature for the next episode. And damn, we are already at 50 minutes recording time right now, and it's still this might not even be as long doing both movies, because we went in on The Witch. I just
did.
want to say
I hope
hey,
you guys-
I guess an on air good job. Thanks for talking to me about a movie I love.
No, this is fun. I love this.
Yeah.
I feel like our episodes might be getting longer.
I think they are. I think you're getting a little more perspective on horror. I'm getting a little more comfortable talking into a mic and not just to myself in my basement. But let's go on to this double feature. We are doing two iconic films that is kind of hotly debated over which is the better one. And I was looking through my movies trying to pick my pick for the next episode, and I was just like, I don't think we can do one without the other. It wouldn't be fair. The only way to do it would be to do one episode after the other, and then we would have to dedicate an entire month. And so we're just going to do them both. We are going to do the Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2.
Oh, yeah.
And then maybe we'll get to Army of Darkness at some time in the future, but this is the core of
Sorry
franchise.
to spoil the fun, though.
You have seen Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
I'm so
Okay, so that's going to be interesting. Maybe we'll get into a little Army of Darkness talk for the next one too, without seeing it. You don't have to watch it again, but you'll just know
hell,
where it
I mean,
leads.
if I can, I would.
Yeah, I think it might still be on Netflix. I think that's the one that
I
is.
think you're right. Yeah. Although I thought The Witch was still on Netflix, which it isn't anymore.
Yeah, sorry about that. We gave false information. But yeah, we are doing Evil Dead 1 and 2. I guess I won't spoil which one I like more. You might already know, but
I don't honestly.
You don't know which one?
No,
Okay.
I feel like you probably told. You might have told me on air.
Yeah.
and I don't remember.
But yeah, we are gonna. It's been a minute since I've revisited Evil Dead 2 as well. I think I watched Evil Dead 1 a few months ago, but I'm eager to jump back into them and to be able to talk about these movies because both of them together, this whole franchise is like a huge reason why I love movies the way I do and how I got into movie aesthetics and wanted to make films myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope
That's
you guys
exciting.
are.
I saw like the opening of Evil Dead because I was trying to watch it on a really crappy like streaming link, and all I got to see was like that kind of really low to the ground.
Yeah,
hovering
like
shot.
fast.
Yeah, that
You know,
was
you know
cool.
they just. I guess this is a little peek into the next episode, but you know how they did that? They put the camera on a board because they didn't have like a dolly or a steady cam or anything.
like a 2x4.
Yeah, like a couple of boards, and they just like kind of went a little fast with them and then sped up the footage.
Yeah, this is pretty like really low budget, right?
Oh yeah, the first one especially is like super duper. Like this is like the low budget horror movie.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited, and I feel like what now that I think about it, like if I can help it. I mean, we're already doing a double feature, but maybe I can revisit Army of Darkness too. We can talk about that. I'm not saying that you have to watch that either.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I might just do a big triple feature.
It would just be a
over the next week.
refresher because it's been years since I've seen it.
Yeah.
I had no idea that they were all connected.
Yeah.
I thought Army of Darkness was its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So-
Well,
Which
when you start to understand the timeline of Evil Dead, you'll get why it's so wonky. But okay, thank you guys for listening, and you don't forget to please subscribe and give us a review if you can. And we are on social media on Twitter at good_suffering. We are on Instagram at Good Suffering Podcast, and we are on Facebook at facebook.com/Good Suffering Pod /. Thank you guys, and once again, this has been Good Suffering.